So we're mostly in our little uns again, and we were meant to, if aligned to the calendar, come on the 20th to catch the third quarter moon energies, but that's not been possible. So we've managed to get on now before the new moon tomorrow, so that we're still technically in that spectrum. We've just come out of a meditation and sounding meditation and breath meditation with our legs up. Lots of nerves and anxiety around this again. And I don't know if it's so much, I'm impressed actually that we've got a adult composed voice, even though it's not mainly the adults functioning. This is our homegrown and homemade sage stick. It's not made with white sage. We've got a purple sage and a yellowy sage, and this was made with the purpley one. But it burns really well. It burnt so well that actually heaps burnt down the other day. It wouldn't go out. And we did make a video on our Joy to Cocoa channel. So we're just having our intro. We harvested the herbs. So there's quite a few of them. Some blue hyssop, rosemary, lavender. We're very emotional. So yeah, we're just attempting to compose ourselves and center ourselves. When we were doing the thumbnail, we started doing found out another system where you can do them all in one section. So we're just having them all in one section rather than deleting it each time and using the previous one as a template. So then we've got them all if we want to go back and edit it. So yeah, we managed to harvest these on sunrise on the 1st of August. And we got a few done. We got chamomile, a couple of wee chamomile ones. I don't know if they'll work. And a couple more done, but then our table was full of the herbs until a few days ago. And then we finally got round to being able to finish the other ones off. Because I think it's best to do it when they're not fully dry, and then they can dry in the bundle, which is what this one did. So I don't know how the other ones will burn. But yeah, even if it's not white sage, it still smells amazing and burns amazing. So we're really proud because that's our first attempt at doing that. And the fact that it's homegrown and homemade. We've got, we won't need to buy any now for the rest of the year. And we've got each of them on their own. And then we've got bundles where they're mixed. And then we've got one which is mixed with the rosemary. I don't think it's got rosemary in it actually, but it's mixed with the blue hyssop, both lavenders, both sages. And then we had some oil that we were infusing as well. So we used up the last of our weed stalks to make weed butter, because our body still craves it because of the CPTSD. We're needing calming still, but we don't smoke it anymore. I think, yeah, because it all ran out. We chose not to grow any this year so that we didn't have it, because we know when things get bad, we do use that as a crutch and a coping mechanism and to calm us down. And when we're attempting to not have that as an option, and then that will make us do all our other stuff naturally. But the body does still crave it. Not all of us know about and use all the tools of the sound healing, the rest of it that we have. So yeah, we also used all those herbs, because when you harvest it at sunrise in the morning, they're more potent, and depending which moon energies you do it on makes a difference. And so it was the 1st of August, which was Lammas, which is majorly potent and healing apparently. And it was Virgo moon, and Virgo is really healing. And that's actually what the new moon is tomorrow. Tito paid, no more. We won't start talking about that, because as soon as we talk about stuff, we're so present and we'll switch. And it's good to finish what we start. Tomo. So we were talking about, so yeah, this is an infused oil. We've got our weed butter, or it's not butter, it's weed coconut oil in the fridge waiting. And then this one is again your rosemary, your lavender, your blue hyssop, chamomile, and sage. Is there sage in it? No, I don't think there isn't any sage in it actually. It's just the other ones. Oh, and bay leaves, because rosemary and bay leaves are meant to be really good for varicose veins, and we only have one varicose vein, but we've got a lot of thread veins. So yeah, this is the oil, but the coconut oil in this one didn't separate when we put it into the fridge, so we had to put it into a container and freeze it. And we did that a couple of times each time. And because then tidying up and washing is really hard and everything, what's left over when we poured the oil out, we then put the rest of the stuff in the bath and just have a hydrotherapy bath with the herbs, and that then helps us to wash the container and use the stuff up. And we did that a couple of times. We cut off pad thai. Yeah, we're in our little ones. We can't open that, can we? But yeah, we used that yesterday. It's not got the weed stuff mixed in yet, but that's just the oil. But we used that yesterday after our bath, and it's amazing. So when it's mixed with the coconut weed oil, and then separate into 2 batches, and then we've got cocoa butter and other stuff that we'll mix in. We'll make a large supply of a nighttime one and a morning time one, so we'll put in different essential oils, and then hopefully that will mean we'll get the cannabinoids in through our skin, so it will help calm us and give us what the body's craving from it, because we trust our body with what it's craving. We know that when we crave like meat and cheese, it's because we're not getting enough protein, so we're not eating enough of our pulses and our lentils and stuff, because we're getting better each time on all of that, but we tend to go in what we call relapses. But it's not it is a relapse, but it's not a relapse to how we understand relapse. It is a relapse, and as in we go backwards, because we do go backwards because we go into the younger alternate personalities. But we go into the younger alternate personalities because that aspect of the body and that aspect of the brain needs to grow up, so that all the separated and fragmented parts of the body and the brain and the different fields, like your emotional body, your sensual sexual energy body, your physical body, your chemical body for, yeah, we're not going to get into that too much detail, and we need to align them all. And if some of them are in frequencies of the spectrum that aren't resonant with the other frequency of the spectrum, the subconscious and the superconscious, the subconscious memory data information stored in the connective tissue, the slower vibration, the superconscious, the faster vibration, if they're too far away, then they're not going to harmonically resonate, and that's what we need them to do. So our perception, our experience and perception, and gaining more and more the words and the terminology to put with it of what DID is and how it impacts the body and the mind. It's not just the mind, it's all interconnected, is always growing to share. We've just got 528 hertz, the miracle DNA healing. She's so panel. Yeah, we're really getting the concave curves in our palms, which we've never had. She's so sorry. We're not going to be on here for too long. We've got the calendars as a prop and some astro charts. Last month when we came on, we spent ages actually beforehand attempting to figure out the mic. And so our progress since then is we've got this clip-on mic, which we've had for ages. And we bought an adapter to plug into the audio socket that gives the option into mic and headphones. But luckily it's only a few quid, because we spent ages looking for it, and we always spend ages to make sure we do the right thing. It's not good on there. We need to do it on the carpet. That's better. Thank you. So for that, no. Yeah. So yeah, it's got 2 male slots separators, whereas you need the 1 male and the 2 female. So it took us a while to suss out, but we've got exactly the same one, but the opposite way round. So now technically we ought to be able to plug that into there, and then plug the mic into the mic thing of this and the headphones, and it ought to work. So we might try that at the end actually. I wondered why our little ones have got all this stuff out. So yeah, with the thumbnail, when we were shifting it over and copying it, the orange, 2 orange and yellow backgrounds disappeared. Notice we've got the orange on with pink, and it seemed a lot more visually and aesthetically pretty pleasing without the orange, which is because we've been releasing massive amounts of emotion. We've also been releasing massive amounts of nerve pain, or not. We've got congested, and the nerve pain and physical pain that we're experiencing has got intense again. We've not been able to go in the garden much at all. But doing things like fermenting our veg and the cucumbers the other day, we've managed. So we are managing to do things that are needed. Witnessing what's going on, there's some of us preparing for a bigger something to happen because they're filling up the freezer with home cooked meals. I've got pumpkin, they've done a few new ones as well, like our little ones get bored of what we're eating, so one of us prepared half butternut squash with a lentil mix in, and then have bundled that up, and it's in foil in the freezer, so we can just take them out. Our little ones then can take it out and just put it in the oven, so that we've got a good balance of food going on for when they can't cook, for when whatever's going to happen soon. So that's good, but then it's navigating the fear, because we know something's going to happen, and that always brings up anxiety and fear, because we knew before the seizures were going to happen 2 weeks that something was going to happen and debilitate us, but we didn't know what. So when one gains these understandings and intuition, I suppose people would call it psychic abilities, but we don't really like that terminology. We prefer the sub and super conscious terminology. And it's good that we don't understand all that's going to happen, because if we did, it would trigger too much, and it would be too much overwhelm. And with the autism and not being able to regulate our autonomic nervous system, it would just overload us. We're just going to do a bit of sound. So yeah, coming on to here is a big, it's not just the being heard and being seen anymore. It's because we went through all the moon signs and the moon energies while we were anchored in our feet on the Joy to Coco channel, which was all about the moon energies and the internal body. But this is all about the sun energies, the external body, and the coming out. And so we know, because we're going through so many big shifts at the moment, and it gets overwhelming and challenging, we made sure that we haven't organised, but we have kind of tidied the house, and we're keeping on top of the kitchen just so it doesn't get too messy. So we are learning to prioritise certain needs around our own self-care and our own self-nurturing before going into this. We're not able to, it's such a shame, because October the 5th is the finish date of our daily poet videos and the shadow work on our ShintoSEYE channel. There's been lots of tweaking and adapting on our channels. But that's taken a gap since our birthday on the 19th. It's our legal name's chosen birthday when we got the new name, and that's taken a bit of a back seat. Yeah, it's taken a back seat because we're in our little ones, and we're not able to exert that energy on it because the energy goes elsewhere. And it takes too long if we attempt to do something and we're not in the right altar that does it. Because if we're in another altar that's not very good at it, it's like some altars have strengths and some have weaknesses. So if we're attempting to do something to follow that pattern where we push ourselves, but we're not in the right altar, it take up a lot more time and use a lot more energy. So it's not really much reward for the effort. I think we're getting more trembly because there's a couple of watchers. So hi. Hi, Joyce from Washington and Green Fairy. We get more anxious and nervous when there's people watching. We normally turn the chat off, but we thought one of us turned it on. So yeah, but we've been really good because our little ones have been doing shorts. And when we started university, we did a mathematics degree, specialising in teaching degree, secondary teaching degree, specialising in mathematics. And because we grew up from an academic background, we completed the first year and stayed at university, even though it would have been better for us to leave, because it was a bigger decision to leave and go against the family. You know, you got to get your education, you got to get your foundation. That's where we came from. And so then we started a operational research and statistics degree. So love the statistics and numbers. Yeah, little ones love the cards and the numbers. We've learned numbers. Numbers are teaching us words, and we don't do numbers in the accountancy and the mathematics way that our left brain logical and all our experiences in the past used to do. It's very artistic and creative. So rather than being 3 being half of 6, logically from the left brain, 3 is half of 8 in an abstract creative way. One more. So yeah, this is really shifting the adrenaline. It's bringing us up and out. We're showing our voice, we're showing our face, sharing our voice, and we're understanding more and more that actually we have a lot to share. It just we haven't been able to share it in a coherent, receptive way to the other, for the other to understand, because of the chaos that's been going on as we navigate through everything that we've been navigating through since the seizures. So yeah, we've been producing there's a lot of sidetracking going on. We've been producing our shorts, which we were going to do 3 every day for 8 days. And we'd looked at the best time for them to go out, because we're really attempting to find a way to become financially self-sufficient. Which means there's a lot of learning and structuring and stuff that has to be done. And when we don't really know, when we don't talk to other humans, and we don't know really what altar or energies we are in, although we're learning more, when the Taurus moon is happening, our Taurus is Chiron. Chiron's the wounded healer. The wounded healer or wounded goes to our CPTSD, which is the dissociative identity disorder, the genius coping mechanism of early childhood trauma. So we end up going younger. These Virgo energies, we end up going younger. We're not going to be on here too long. We say that and that never happens though. Our Virgo energies are, well, it depends what chart you use, because we are never simple. We go by, we go by the Placidus, is it? The unequal house chart. But then we decided to attempt to do simpler. So then we did the equal chart, and that slightly shifts things. But then we also looked into some of us have looked into the Vedic chart, which I know we're attempting to shift our energies to, because our philosophy is the shadow dance with life. It's the shadows, it's the unaware, unseen, unknown aspects of self. So with astrology, and we go into those energies, people tend to go, it's like, well, that sounds familiar, yeah. And so then they focus on that familiarity. But when we're attempting to find those aspects of us that we're unaware of, to bring the subconscious, the unaware, to the conscious, into the aware, conscious awareness, then for our understanding, surely it's about going with the energies that are unfamiliar, because then they're the ones in the dark, they're the ones unseen, unheard, unknown, which is kind of what we're good at internally because of our deaf, blind and dumb internal processing model. So that means that all our energies go into our taste, our smell, our touch, tactile, and we feel the energy strongly. So with the standard Western astrology, we're an Aquarius moon and an Aquarius sun. Our sun's on the cusp of Pisces. Now, when you normally shift into a Vedic astrology, your sun sign will go back a sign, which means majority of people, if they're an Aquarius sun, they'll go to a Capricorn sun. But because we're so far to the cusp, we're 26 degrees. Sorry. That person's energy was quite intense. It suddenly went up to 5, and but they couldn't handle that, nor could we. They couldn't handle us, we couldn't handle them, so they've gone and we've calmed down again. Hi, it's 4 of you now. So our birth given name is the vibration of 8 in numerology. and our sun is 26 degrees, which is 8. So we perceive and read the chart completely different as well. We do it through numbers more. And our moon is 17 degrees, which equals 8. So 17 degrees is second tier 8. So you have 8 first tier. You had to pay to momo 17. Ah, temple. Oh, so yeah, this, so we can tell now, because for whole life we've had the ID, but we haven't known about it. We've learned to use one voice, and the whole thing for us to know that we're getting more emotionally, more able to manage our emotions or our personalities or whatever we call all this, is that we can use one voice, project ourselves as one voice again, even though we're switching inside, and we can tell we're switching inside lots now because we're struggling to add up. And this is getting us comfortable with it. But the reason to do that, I think for some of us, is because we're more comfortable with it, but we're more comfortable with it because we're super hypersensitive and we're an empath and we feel other people's energies. And a lot of people aren't comfortable with this type of stuff. So if they're not comfortable with it, we feel that. So if we can project ourselves as what people are comfortable with, then it won't make them uncomfortable, which means we'll be able to manage things more. So yeah, first tier 8 is 8, second tier 8, 17, third tier 8, 26, 35 is fourth tier 8, and it goes up like that. So we've got a second tier 8 and a third tier 8 at 17 and 26 with our sun and our moon. So it's 8 for us is what we call our master guide. It's the vibration which we're very balanced with. 8 is it's a number of balance. 8 is the traditional number. It varies between 8 and 11, but if you've got justice in the tarot, that's no, if you've got Leo the lion, strength, what's number 8 called? It is the strength. 8's the strength. So if you've got 8, the strength card, which is Leo in the tarot, titopaitomo, tita. So yeah, it switches between 8 and 11. Justice 11 normally in the traditional rider weight, and 8 strength, but they interchange quite a bit depending which tarot decks you use. 11 is second tier 2. 2 and 8 are the bridge from the left brain, what we call the left brain tangible 3D dimension, but what we call the collective agreement of the objective reality or realm, because the collective agreement of the objective reality is, how do we word this? We've gone from the before technology in the last 200 years, we've gone from everyone believing in the unseen, believing in gods, believing in spirits, which was their way of wording the unseen forces that is bigger than the individual self. And to describe one's own subjective experience in language and words for others to attempt to understand can be quite challenging. So when you get someone with that emotional awareness and an intellectual intelligence, and they can describe that in words, which has mainly been men, because then we went from that believe in the unseen, the witches, the witchcraft, the wizards, the nature's medicine, into the world of technology, which then went speed, fast, but all about the part, which is the masculine energy, whereas the whole is the feminine energy. The feminine energy is the curves, the masculine energies is the lines. So 8 is a feminine number made of curves, 11 is a masculine number made of ones, but the 11 moves into a 2, which is balance between masculine and feminine. And the 11 also, how we describe it, gives us if one looks into the, I don't know, it's not really Chinese, it's Sushumna's, your Hindu wording for this, your Sushumna, your central channel. It's like your spinal column. But we get it from, what's he called? Fitzgerald, Inner Bridges, Fitzgerald. And then there's another one. So you have your energy can kind of come in, But for us, most people see it coming in from the top, the cosmic energies coming in from the earth, the grounding energies. We call the earth the shamanic grounding energies. We call the cosmic energies like the God, the spiritual, the Hindu. But for us, that's where humans are amazing. A human can invert oneself in a yoga position. So therefore, you've got the cosmic energies coming down into the feet and the rest of them going up. But it's not just down and up. You've also got front and back. You've got all the diagonals. So if you've got that vortex, that funnel, which you've got a wide hole going into a point, it's what you've got a Christmas decoration where you've got lots of sphere and lots of circles going around the sphere going into the center. That's how we perceive and experience the energy. So it's coming in from your front, it's coming in from your side, it's coming from that angle, it's coming in from all angles, from every chakra point, but also as a whole. God, we're really sidetracking, aren't we? So the 8 is the figure of 8 pattern around the body on the, we're getting into yoga now, the sagittarial plane, the medial plane. It's basically the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. So your length, your height, your depth. And that links the sit bones and the collarbones. So you'd have the figure of 8 going that way, and that way. And then you've got the central channel of the 11 going down. So we did, when we chose to, everything we've done, it's we never know. This is what people call channeling, I suppose. We never know what's going to come out of our mouth. But when other people say they're channeling entities, energies, beings outside of them, but for us, if the external is a projection of the internal reality, and how one experiences and perceives the world is from this 5 physical sensory systems, the information comes in, then it goes around the processing models, and then it either comes out again, whether it's in coherent language, which for the majority of us where we're at the moment, it's not a coherent language, it's frequency, it's sound. We work very much on a sonic basis. We do a lot with the Fibonacci sequence. This is I can't remember what tribe, I think Maoris or someone else. Hand yoga mudras, just body for presence, bringing into presence. So I suppose we're shifting energy now. We're very experienced in a lot of this. It's just putting the words to it, and then it's managing to share the words and the experiences in this type of situation. So that's what this is about. It's us. So we're talking about the objective reality. So when someone is able to express their subjective internal reality to people in the external reality, and when enough people go, yeah, that's either you've got enough kind of, I suppose, what do you call them, leaders sharing their experience, not leaders, just creatives, authentic, we don't know the word, but when you've got enough people sharing their experience, and then you've got a lot of other people sharing their experience, and you can tell the words and the experiences overlap, whether the words that are used are the same or not. For instance, if you've got an electrician that's spiritual, and a quantum healer that's spiritual, and a scientist, and then someone that's just, whatever, they'd all use different language, but you might be able to tell the language that overlaps. And then you've got the people that maybe don't have the experience, the knowledge, the courage, or they're like us, the self-belief, the self-esteem. They've got a lot of trauma. That they're purging, because trauma miswires the body. It crosses over, synesthesia, David Eagleman, it crosses over pathways. It stunts what we call our little uns, the generational consciousness, but that's our organs. The organs are the first part of the body to develop. And if there's very traumatic trauma that happens in each body, the physical, the head injury, other back injuries, the sexual abuse, the loss of our mum to suicide, all at young ages, then that causes a complexity in the body and how it develops. And so then if there isn't a safe environment and one's growing up in this fight, flight, freeze, adrenaline for their life, everything gets distorted. But if everyone's a genius when they're born, and so we've just expressed and presented our genius in a different way to really cut ourselves off from the world at the moment to keep ourselves safe, because each alternate personality, each body network, fascia train of alters has just gone through too much trauma. So that muscle network, the nervous system networks, just got too exhausted and too tired, because if you've got 4 muscles doing the job of one muscle, then you're exerting so much more energy. And this is the physical, the EDS, and the rest of it. So we'll come back again. So when enough people then go, yeah, you say that's exactly, wouldn't have been able to word it, but that's exactly what we're experiencing, that's what we're going through, then you get this majority of people in agreement. So we call the objective reality a collective objective agreement of some of people's internal subjective agreements, truth. And so in this age now where we're wanting to know who's lying, who's not, what's the truth of the situation, for us, we've had to find our own truth, our alignment, our understanding, which is still proves to be challenging, because each alternate personality has a very different truth, a very different understanding. And so how do you get this harmonic alignment between people that have completely opposing belief systems? So we went deep into the quantum fractal realms and world, where narratives and stories and emotions, because people with autism find emotions really challenging, are taken out of the situation. Because if you take the narratives and the words out of the situation, which hasn't so much I was going to say hasn't so much been a conscious decision, but it has been a conscious decision to some of us, because each alter has its conscious and its subconscious and its superconscious. But some of the alters reside in the subconscious and the past, some of them reside in the future, the superconscious, and some are in the conscious, and some overlap. And we got that from a piece of painting artwork that we did when we were 16. So we've got lots of energy going up through the throat chakra into the head. With the EDS, it's all our labels are our gifts, and they give us the understanding of this most amazing quantum bioorganic computer that we live in. The postural-orthotic trachea syndrome gives us the understanding of the pressure in the tubular body, whether it's the electromagnetic energy in the tubular body of the nervous system, or whether it's the electrochemical energy pressure in the circulatory system, the immune system, the lymphatic system, the limbic system. The autism gives us the multidimensionality understanding. The dissociative identity disorder gives us the understanding of being a fly on the wall and understanding many different belief systems. But from internally, from one body, which is a lot of chaos for a conditioned, domesticated, societal, academic mind to left brain logic to even understand. And it's not very often as an adult 42 that one can shift from that left brain logic structured thinking into the abstract creative thinking. But we were good at maths and art at school, so we have both sides. It's just that the one got dumbed down and never used, so that's been grown up as well. And our new Zanoni Snowflake Passau, our new chosen legal name, because this is the unique perception. We've done self-awareness work, self-development work for almost 2.5 decades, and one's meant to get to know themselves better from what we could understand and put things together, and it's meant to start making sense, but we just kept disappearing and losing more and more. So we didn't, and that's the autism, the cutting off of the nervous systems. You've got hypermobility, but you've got the rigidity that brings us into the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, the EDS, which gives us the understanding of the connective tissue, the fascia, which goes around everything in the body. It's that most amazing multi-dimensional cling film spider web of everything in the body, so that if you took everything in the body away, you could still see everything of the body. Like the veins in plants, if you've seen the nervous system, if you see any of that black light artwork, you get a very different visual impression and experience seeing the object, the sculpture, the painting in daylight, to then when you put it into darkness, if it's glow in the dark, or if it's not glow in the dark, putting it into darkness and having a black light. God, we're spouting out information, aren't we? And there's people still watching and interested. Yeah, we talk. Yeah, we just talk and go through it, don't we? Choo, choo, choo. So we're doing now the coming out to gain confidence and to grow, lining and healing from the inside out, with the important thing, first of all, being the gut, because we are basically a big globule of bacteria that's taken form. And we've learned that from, we keep our scobies in our kombucha. And if you've done any kind of A&P, anatomy and physiology, you'll understand the layers of the epidermis and the skin. And so we're not going to go into that, but that's there. So we've got our kombucha, we've got our sourdough. We managed to keep all this fed as well. And we've just done our vegetables, and we have our kefir, because it's our guts. You know, if one has a feeling or an emotion, that then if that gets prolonged, it kind of becomes a mood, I think it is. If that gets prolonged, it kind of becomes character trait, and if that gets extended and prolonged, it becomes like a personality. So with what we've been feeling, and because we go by sonic and external sound, but also our intestines and our guts, the intestines, the whole body functions on this like labyrinth where there's one way in and there's one way out, but it's a very complex, layered exterior, superficial muscles, the exterior, your deep tissue muscles, the layer of muscles between those two connecting them, and then the deepest, which is the organs. So if you've got that figure of 8 pattern, you've got that figure of 8 pattern going through these 4 layers in that spiral. We're not talking about that anymore. That has too much of an impact. So if we're a sun and moon Aquarius, that's a very fast vibration. It's very intellectual. So going back to the shadow aspect and the unfamiliar in Vedic astrology, the sun stays Aquarius, but it goes to the other end of Aquarius. So rather than being Pisces Aquarius cusp, it becomes Capricorn Aquarius cusp, which means it's not so mutable. So maybe not so much shifting. And the moon goes into a Capricorn. So if the moon's the internal emotional, and we're attempting to gather our emotions and calm down our emotions, our personalities, and become stable, then a Capricorn moon is much more effective and coherent and a balanced energy for that. So for us to go from the Western astrology energies into the Vedic astrology energies, it makes so much sense. Tapaito momo. Is Zendaya gone? Yeah, we opened the window so Zendaya could get out, because we know when we coming on here with the live is a completely different energy to not being live. Because as we're doing a collective energy, it is amazing, isn't it, Green Fairy? Between you guys and us, and that's the core energy that's going on, or I suppose we're the core energy because we're hosting it. Then which would be first tier, what we were just talking about with the numbers, and then the group of people that are in here are second tier, and then I think maybe green, I don't know if Joyce is still here, but green fairy, you're definitely a constant second tier, and then there's other people coming in and out, which may be third tier, and it gets the potency of the energy. Oh, bless you, Joyce, you're here too. I don't know if you both want to join in. We just need to center ourselves again. And we do that by bringing ourselves into our heart and our body with some subtle shaking, some subtle sounding. We sound in and out from our nose and everything. And your forearms and your shins and calves are your ascending colon and your descending colon. And we're having a lot of stuff go on with our left at the moment because of our collarbone that broke and displaced, and so getting the pattern to flow in the body at its optimum resonance is challenging because we don't have that length there. It is split and went over. Yeah, so we're just going to do that. So if you want to join in, feel free. If not, you can just observe and witness. You can take yourselves into your own internal reality and subjective agreement by closing your eyes, or you can keep your eyes open and stay in the collective objective reality, the 3D realms. And you can either follow and join in with us and copy, but we always suggest to, if you're able to, follow your own intuition and your heart, which we know is hard. We're still dancing with that one. Yeah, the more subtle the movement, the better. And we're saying that to remind ourselves, and we're pulsing and opening our hands at the moment, and we're just like doing our feet. So wherever your body and your hands want to take you, when you do this, you have your root chakra in your hands and your feet. And that's the importance of us keeping on with the kitchen, because the kitchen represents the root chakra. The toilet represents the root chakra, but not the rest of the bathroom, just the toilet. So this is a bit like, is it EMT, EFT, the tapping? Tupaita. Yeah, right shin is. And where your tongue is in your mouth, the tongue, we've found each tooth is a meridian, a channel that goes through your body and relates to a certain organ. So if you've ever done physics or electronics and you have put things together, you've got little opening closey bits like a switch on a light, which can connect the circuit when you turn the light on or you turn the light off, and it stops the circuit of energy. You've got transformers that can change the impact of the energy, not the impact, the strength, the voltage, the wattage. We one of us knows it all. And depending whether it's in parallel or series, one of them changes the wattage, one changes the voltage. The voltage is the intensity. 240 volt being the main here in the UK. 12 volt if you live in a van or a caravan and you've got solar panels. Just love your body, nurture your body. Bring your attention to your breath. We bring the attention to our breath. Because as kids, we put ourselves in all kinds of positions and just the body knows what to do. But when we become adults, we suddenly need to have yoga teachers or gym instructors or people to show us and guide us, when we're the best person that knows what's going on with our body if we're willing to surrender to our body. But sometimes if we are very academic or intellectual, heady people, it's hard to surrender to the body, because when we surrender to the body, we surrender to those aspects of us that are less developed, less aware, less understanding. But for us to develop and strengthen our intuition and our heart connection into value-based systems that can filter out the belief systems, understanding the importance of diversity of belief systems so that there's inclusion of everyone, rather than the current societal systems that label this and categorize that and cause more fragmentation and separation. Understanding that unity doesn't mean one as such. Unity is a circle, which is the feminine energies, the whole, the curves, not the thinking, the part, and the masculine energies of one. Unity is the everything. It's the diversity of belief systems, the connection of the whole body, with ability in one's own unique expression to describe and express through art being whatever is created and produced from the fullness of the heart with passion. And with passion in French is compassion. Compassion for self, releasing self-judgment. That was the 4 agreements focus 2 exercise shorts video that we've just done on our ShintoSEYE channel. So when we put our tongue in a certain position on our mouth, if it's on our teeth, on the bottom, we're connecting the midline of the body. The midline of the body in the center, if it's the center of the teeth, and it's the upper teeth, it's the upper body. The lower teeth, the lower body. The extremities and the sides of the teeth is the extremities of the body. And we can also do it with our eyes. Whether our eyes are open or closed, we can develop our peripheral awareness, our peripheral nervous system by doing eye exercises. That's the EMR. The tapping is the EMFT. The EMR is the eye stuff, I think. There's a lot of stuff we've actually had and experienced, but EFT wasn't good for us because of our memory and switching between altars. We couldn't do the set patterns because, again, teachers and guides and academics, they give you a set structure, they give you a set routine, but especially people that have experienced trauma and at a young age that have become really separated from their bodies to cope with life and to cope with living and to cope with adult responsibilities, cut off from that. And if one is autistic as well, which there's so many more people autistic, because autistic is just a different way of thinking, a different way of experiencing. And people who have had trauma experiences and that are super hypersensitive, there's a completely different way of the way the body wires itself. And we're geniuses as well when that happens, because we're not the ones that speak out. We're not the ones that take part in the questionnaires to give the statistics, to give a relative, accurate statistics. And plus, statistics can be manipulated. So we live in a world that's based on the masculine energy that thinks in the part, that suddenly got all this knowledge and this information in a certain way, making people believe there's a right way to do something, when the only right way to do something is the right way for you as an individual. And it's about developing our heart and our trust in self and starting to know our truth, even if our truth switches between one to the other, depending on the energies that are coming in with the moon, which shifts and transits every 2 to 3 days. And so Taurus, we tend to go young because of our Chiron, and we go young with the Virgo energies, because we've got 3 planets, all retrograde, actually, I think. Mars, action, talk action, N-O-I-T-C-A, 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 Noitica. So yeah, because a lot of us is backwards. We learned that doing mantras, spelling the word. If we read a book and we stop reading a book, then whatever we've stopped reading on, there's been a trigger, a word. When the glitch starts happening in the matrix of the wiring of the body, we then discover that word, we spell it backwards and we say it backwards, and that's our individual mantra. We're trembling and shaking hugely at the moment. So becoming a child and experiencing from a child's perspective, it's allowing the body to do what it needs to do. Sit on the couch upside down. Put yourself in weird positions. Feel where that fascia train, that stretch of muscles goes. Do uncomfortable or comfortable mirror talk. Look yourself in the eyes. Speak out loud the negative thoughts we have about ourselves, and then go, okay, I understand that's how we feel in the moment. I can understand why, but that's not our truth. That's just what we've been conditioned or programmed of how things have been. And there's always a way through, but it starts with unconditionally loving ourselves and being gentle and compassionate with ourselves, doing what we can when we can, giving ourselves a gentle nudge if we know we're just being lazy, but all completely stopping, going, no, we need to stop, we need a rest, we need a break. Doing what we need to do to distract the mind. For us, people meditate, and there's a specific way of meditating, and there's meant to have focused attention. But for us, if we've got a lot of us going on, then we might have to have one lot of music or something going on in one headphone and ear, and something else going on in the other ear, while there's other noise going on in the background while we're watching something different. Luckily, it hasn't been that hectic or chaotic for a while. Oh, that feels so good. And we're not going to say excuse us, because that's the releasing, that's the trapped air. There's an amazing book, the breath book that we're reading. It says how it's bad to breathe in through the mouth, and there's nothing bad. There's just moderation. For us, we have to breathe in through the mouth sometimes, because the channels have got, and the fascia has got adhered, and the channels can't do it. So we have all types of different breathing patterns. The one that we attempt to do most is where there's the nose is used first, then the mouth, and then the nose. So for instance, it'd be an inhalation through the nose, inhale through the mouth, inhale through the nose, and then exhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, exhale through the nose. But the most important thing is just to find our own way of doing stuff. Listen to other people, know that there's information to share, but that we don't have to rigidly follow them. And that the more we find our own individual truth and experience, and then the ability to express that and share that, and get leaders to create leaders, and the more authentic we are, the more then we don't have to live in this dominant energy, objective reality collective agreement, because that is the people that are loud, that speak out, that have been hurt, that have been hard done by, that live in that conditioned victim state consciousness, which, if one has been a victim, then one has to navigate through that. And we've been finding that extremely hard, because we've been so independent our whole life. But we need to experience those feels. We need to navigate through it, but we need to not get trapped in it. But society at the moment can trap people in it. And it's not saying that society's bad, because that brings in the good or bad. There's no good or bad. There just is what there is. There's the fact that we, as humans, have forgotten how to understand moderation and balance, and understand that we are humans, and it's about enjoying through the senses and the physical senses of experience. This is like the fifth limb of yoga, pratyahara, freedom from the desires of the senses. And for us, freedom from the desires of the senses means that one doesn't get trapped into the overeating or the binging or the having the weed or the alcohol or the drugs or the sex or the coffee or the too much of anything, whatever that is, to stimulate you or to numb you or to help you go to sleep or to help you wake you up or to help you have fun. But it's about moderation. Moderation is the number 14. That's the card of temperance. We've just put another short up for that. Compass, direction and compassion, and it's the compass of the heart. Oh, Green Fairy, that's beautiful to read. We're so grateful that we're facilitating you to understand yourself better, because this is what's driven us to do what we're doing, because otherwise there's we struggle with suicide or ideation, and to have had to cut ourselves off from everyone because they aren't on that self-awareness, self-growth journey, and for us to have to do it if we want to live, to change our resonance, to attract a healthy lover and find a partner eventually, and hopefully buy some land and build a house and maybe have a family, which we believe is going to happen, but some of us don't, because some of us are stuck in the fact that, oh no, we're going to hit menopause and it's not going to be possible. What's kept us going is our beautiful cat Zendaya, and the fact that there's other people out there that don't speak out because they're not extroverts, because they don't need to, because they do stuff inwardly. But we feel that's the majority of the population, not the minority. And we feel that the minority of the population that has all the statistics and the numbers are the people. It's inaccurate information. And so when we can start understanding the diversity that all the information out there at the moment that's proved by science started from one person's experience and their ability to share, more than likely a man. And so who says they're right? You know, humans and man, even though they're greedy, decided to ironically look at the 0.01% of an atom because it was the seen, tangible, the physical, the dense, because the seen, tangible, the physical is compressed, expansive energy. And we're coming into a world now where there's more of the feminine energy. It's not about going from the patriarchal to the matriarchal. It's about balance. We went from the matriarchal of the feminine energies of the rich and nature and being connected to the land and the just faith, into the masculine of technology and proving it. Well, not proving it, because in science you have to actually disprove something to show it's the same. Just to prove it, you have to disprove it. The paradoxical of it. So now it's about integrating the two. So we see it as the organic and the inorganic consciousness. Consciousness for us is God, and then you've got the inorganic and the organic. The inorganic's like technology, but even technology, it's got a crystal in it. It's got a quartz crystal in it to function. So in that inorganic and organic, you've got the bioorganic. So a quartz, a crystal, is alive. It's just a lot slower to form. It holds more information. It's more dense. We're going to kind of calm down and leave it there because we've lost it a bit, but it's about going into the Vedic astrology in stages while still familiarizing ourselves. It's not about completely going into the unknown. It's about looking at bits all along, because then we've got the Chinese astrology, we've got the native, we're an otter in the Native American Indian astrology. In the Mayan astrology, we're a hawk, I think. And for us, it's about, because there's so many of us, it's about pulling in all of the different cultural information. And because we've done so much traveling through the world, and we've realized that we absorb the energy from those areas, but because our sushumna's been blocked because of our spinal, our prolapsed discs and our injuries, which we believe we can heal, we are healing. Our hair's starting to grow back on our legs. Things are starting to happen, which means that we're starting to replenish and regenerate our energies. I mean, some of us believe we're going to grow our teeth back and all kinds of things. But the balding bits here, they say this can be genetic when your head goes back. We're actually getting hair now. It's about an inch almost, and we've got little bits of hair starting to grow back here because we're not just so trapped up in our mind. So yeah, this Aquarius full moon to the Virgo new moon for us is super intense, because our vibration, second and third tier vibration 8 of 17 degrees moon, 26 degrees sun, is in our 6th house. The 6th house home for the collective is Virgo. So our Virgo and our Aquarius are connected there. And then in our 1st and 2nd house, it kind of varies a bit. I mean, in this one, we can't read. We can't actually, so I can't tell you. It's I think Virgo, Leo's the 29 degrees, 12th house. No, it's a top pain, not my brain's not functioning. We're in a right flow state or something, aren't we? Right brain creative flow channeling. So yeah, our Mars are our Mars action, Jupiter expansion. Mars is the tower, Tuesday, number 16, rebirth. Jupiter's number 10, the wheel of fortune, the shift in energies. The Thursday rules the fives. Jupiter is the ruler of Neptune. No, Jupiter's the ruler of Pisces and Sagittarius. Sagittarius being just Jupiter. Neptune being Jupiter, traditional ruler, modern day ruler, Neptune. But it's the MVM Jason P. It's your Uranus, Neptune, Pluto that are the external planets, and the external planets have more of an effect over the collective. Tito Paina, Taputita, Taito, Victor Vai, Taito, Kita Manana. Words, please. Words. Tito Panana. We were on the toilet the other day. Feet. Yeah. Peripheral nervous system. Yeah. Furthest end of body, like your hands and your head. Yeah. Furthest end of the body, feet, hands, head. Reflex points, reflexology. Yeah, that's not where we're going though. The furthest out you are means the deeper in you go, and that's what happens on your own in your body. So that's what happens on the collective. So if you start bringing in Ceres and all those other outer planets that aren't in the collective understanding yet, but if you go to beautiful Pam or Heather Ensworth, they talk about them a lot, and so more of those external planets that go out, further out you go means further in you go, and that's what it's called in Hindu and Sanskrit, involution, which is evolution outwards, but evolution inwards is involution. Okay, can we kind of slow it down a bit and talk, because it's exhausting. Okay, so yeah, the further out one goes, so if we're speaking into the physical body, the further out you go in your physical body, the deeper you go into your body. The deeper you go into the body, the more you're going into your central nervous system, the more courage one has to really delve deep into their central nervous system. Releasing the narratives and the stories, going into the fractal realms of sacred geometry, not getting distracted by the narratives of the words or the visuals that happen. And that's where we're lucky from the traumas, because it's cut it all off and we just dark inside, so we don't have to navigate that bit. Yes, that's a wonderful perspective. I like that one. Thank you, lovelies. And it's not about not getting distracted and being mind empty. It's just about paying attention to what comes in, going, okay, I acknowledge that, but that's not where we're going at the moment. And for us, we sound our way through, we hum our way through, we do the fractals, we do smudging. So yeah, we got excited then because we've just connected deeper parts of ourselves in our body, getting more to our center, to the outsides of our body, root chakra charging, making that connection with us as an individual being, human being. Rainbow spiral quantum bioorganic computer. Yeah, tubular body, that's what you love, isn't it? And the more deeper we go inwards, the more we go into the central nervous system, the more involution that we do, the more self-awareness and self-discovery that we gain, the more we go into what Jung calls the collective unconscious. And the more we go into that in us, and that's why, not being selfish, but when we do this healing work, going inward on ourselves, it's a slower process, but that's how we believe one can change the systems. So there's all this war going on, there's all this fighting going on, there's the masculine power and greed and money. There's the societal systems that do stuff that either includes everyone, but in this categorization of vulnerability being a weakness, or disability being a weakness, when actually they're the strengths. The sensitive is the strong, but it's not something that can be changed, although we do need to have the people that do. We need to have all walks of life, and we do need to have the people that does the activism and changes the systems on the outside. But that's a quicker kind of change and brings in awareness. But when we go in and change it in ourselves, that has an impact on the collective unconscious, has an impact on the next generation, which actually will then make the systems change. We've really gone into it there, haven't we? So we're going to completely go away from all that. We were very chuffed when this year, because we did 4 years or something of fractal geometry calendars. And this year we got a tree calendar, which is a bonsai tree. And one of the books that we're going to finish, the 108-day out loud reading meditation, or aloud, I think we just learnt. It's Education of Little Tree, which is a Cherokee religion. And so this year we brought animals and trees, bonsai trees, which is amazing, because it means that we're coming out of that chaos and the quantum realms, and bringing, or maybe we're not coming out of it, I think we're still in it, but we're bringing a more of a understanding and a resonance and an order to the chaos. Because if you go into the Tesla code, the 3, the 6, the 9, and that brings us back to the bridge. Yeah, I like it when we come back to it. So the 8 and the 2, an 8 is a completely feminine bridge. A 2 is a balance of the feminine and masculine bridge, and they come in and join into the one bridge. So you've got your 1, 2, 4, 5, 7 and 8, which is the seen, tangible reality world. And then you've got your 3, 6, 9, which is the spiral, vortex, unseen world. And your 6 is the bridge from that one. So the 6 comes in and a line and goes to the other 2. Hence 3 being half of 8 and 3 being half of 6, depending which one you do it at. They're both true. And so for us, what was the one we just did the other day? The 28th. We're not there yet, are we? No. Oh, so for our little ones, the 28th of August is an 8-8 portal, because you've got your 8 in the 28, you've got your 8 in the August, and then you've got your 2022, which is 6, and you can take the 2 from there and put it over here. Because in the abstract creative world, there is no linear structure or order in how we liked to organize and sort and structure data and information and buildings, because it's abstract, it's art, it's creative. And the more that we have trauma, which is everyone, you've got your family trauma lineage, and our father comes from Southern Ireland, that's Catholic Church. There's a deep sexual trauma in that lineage going on there. You've got your land trauma, cultural trauma, so that's all deep in us, and that's why people, and we understand completely, aren't able to do the journey of involution. Joy, J-O-I, when we discovered that, we loved it, joy to Coco, because it brings a joy, it brings a joyful, it brings a lovely vibration, energy to something that's challenging. Because the journey of involution is challenging, and it's hard work feeling, and that's what we've been struggling with lately. Again, we've been going through another cycle of that, but just letting it come out. So you've got your ancient wisdom of your elephants, you've got the baby and the mum. So not quite, this child, isn't it? I suppose you've got the child, the maiden, the mother, the crone. I don't think it's called the mother. And so we got a painting done from someone that we used to do the accounts for. And she does these spiritual paintings. So she connected into our higher self and she did it. And our guides on it was Bast, the cat goddess, and Ganesh, the elephant god. We've also done a shamanic journey, and there's elephants in that. Ganesh is the remover out of obstacles out your way, which is what's more commonly known. But he's the holder of knowledge, and he puts obstacles in your way as well. And so it feels like we're being tested sometimes, but we're not being tested. It's all to do with, so people feel like they're channeling entities outside of them, and we're not. Who are we? We're not judging or saying, but we're attempting to make sense of ourselves. And so for that, we have to attempt to make sense of the outside world and how people share their experiences. And all we can come to is a lot of the people that channel. We haven't watched many people that are younger, but we guesstimate, or we assume, for agreements, don't make assumptions, but one has to, we feel that the younger people tend to follow the older generations to start with, and it's very rare that one gets someone that's truly authentic and truly in their individuality and has a true understanding of self and has the courage to then say stuff that's completely controversial to everything else that goes on. I mean, and we what comes out is all that's able to come out. But I know that there's a lot of stuff that we want to be able to share in future, but we can't share it until our body's stronger, because our body gives us the boundaries. And once we've got our body strong and balanced and flexible, adaptable, then our mind will be, and then we really will be, other people's judgments and opinions won't affect us, because the way that we need to share, the way that we will share, is going to contradict a lot of what's going on at the moment. And we've had experiences where in the past where people identify to their job, they identify to what they've known, because otherwise their world gets rocked upside down, and that's not a pleasant place to be in. So people that channel entities external of them, they believe it, that's what they feel, but that's because we've been conditioned from hundreds of years back that it's not okay to act or be in a certain way, because you get perceived as being mad, or you get burnt, or all this stuff happens, and it goes back and it's deep. And we got put in a psych ward. We got ourselves out. We refused medication, because when we're in a real deep state, we have to be chucked in the deep end. And when we're in a deep state of survival, which anyone that suddenly comes around and they can't use their body and they can't use their voice, the majority of people think they've been taken over by a demon or something else. But we'd lived with ourselves for the previous 3.3 years since the seizures, and knew that wasn't the case, but it was just like locked inside with 8 people physically restraining us. We had just lost however many stone and weight over the last few months, because we physically couldn't eat because of the E.D.S. And it was just like, they're telling us to relax, 8 of them physically restraining us, can't talk. How are we going to get ourselves out of this one? Because your physical aura goes out 3 foot. So if I've got 8 people in me, I'm absorbing all these 8 people's energy. I'm not going to be able to relax. I'm in a state of survival. It's like you've got all your PTSD and your veterans. It's like it's hard to navigate those the chaos of the mind and the narratives that are told. And I remember when I was in the psych ward, it's an interesting, eyes don't come out very often, that we would allow whichever altar to have the narrative and the story that they needed, because we needed to witness all these different aspects of us. They wanted us to take more medication, and it's the medication that flipped us, that put us in that state. So we figured out a way to take medication under our conditions, which had a short half-life, and it was 1 at a time, and then said it will flip us, and then we'll refuse it, and we'll get ourselves out on our own, and we want our natural healing stuff. And the hardest thing is we've recorded all of this since the psych ward to show this live reality documentary of chaos, but different ones of us get confused and think that it's or maybe they don't get confused. Maybe that's the trickery of another altar that's made them believe it's this to get them to do that, because that needs to get done. But it's these super conscious altars, the therapists, the lecturers, the healers, the shamans, because our mum was into the Native American Indian, which is the shaman. It's the earthly grounding. Our auntie on our father's side was an ex-nun. So we feel we've got the spiritual cosmic, and we've done a lot of Hindu and yoga and all of that stuff. But we've also been Snowflake's our Native American Indian name. So Noni we chose from the light of the stars, science of the light and stars or something, which is child of the stars. So child of the stars has your cosmic. Snowflake starts on the ground, even though it comes from the sky. It's water that evaporates, and then precipitation that's at a low temperature to cause it to be a snowflake, to be snow. And Purcell is our mother's maiden name, because with the autism, it's like, well, we've done so much work, we're disappearing, how do we change this? So we've worked on a frequency realm. So we've let go of the frequencies of our birth given name. We've got rid of our father's name, which is Coleman. It's a man back in the day that used to mine and gather coal. They were really poor, and it was a lot of hard work. We can't do hard work no more. Our body's not going to allow it. And we don't want to be poor no more. We want to earn lots of money for minimal work and effort. We invite in the sunset energies in 33 minutes, please. Because we want to have a comfortable life, and we have a unique experience to share, and we put so much quality and tension into what we do. That's why it's also taken us so long, because we know the impact that this new self-education revolution and how everyone's getting into the spiritual world and sharing their truth, but they only go so deep. And to people that have experienced real trauma and vulnerability, it can be quite detrimental, because that's what we've just been navigating through. And if someone says this is how you do it, or this is the way, or this will sort you out, then a desperate person is going to spend that on their credit card because they need help out of it, when really it's not going to work for them. So if anyone's going to see a therapist for more than a few years, that therapist should be turning around. No shoulds aren't meant to be in it. We feel it's better for that therapist, it's an external belief system if it's a should, lets that client go because it's not serving them anymore. So how do we navigate this into facilitating people into finding their way? And it's by sharing our story, sharing what we've done, how we've done it, why we've done it, what's hindered us, what hasn't worked, and asking people to be self-accountable and self-responsible, and just to start sharing our knowledge and our ways. So these people that are channeling entities outside of them, they're not outside of them, because everything outside of us is from inside of us. They're just tapping into the Akashic records, the quantum fields of information, and those are the entities or the frequencies that are coming in, but it's going through their processing systems, it's going through their filters. So therefore you can have so many different people channeling Mary Magdalene or the Pleiadians, but it isn't Mary Magdalene, it isn't the Pleiadians, it's their subjective, passionate, amazing, creative experience of what those frequencies are. But to not own it and not say that that is this and that's my expression of that, to say it's like that's what they say, it's not who I am, is saying like, well, that implies that you know every aspect of yourself, and no one knows every aspect of themselves, because then if all these people that were channelers knew every aspect of themselves, then wouldn't they all be enlightened beings? So yeah, I'm not saying we're not still great at wording it. So if we have worded that in a way that offends, we don't mean to. That's just us attempting to understand this outside and understand us. We see that we're similar, but we're embodying all of it with these different alternate personalities, because we have spent a lot of our life, we functioned in the 3D reality in life. And the older we got, the more stoned we had to get to do that. But we could do it. But when we started doing yoga, and for us to grow up and fully align and do what we wanted to do, we needed to have the full usage of all 3/3 of our lungs. And one can't do that if they smoke. Our intestines and our colons needed to tear themselves apart, so that when the systems, the structure, the body falls with the Mars energy, the chaos kicks in and it crumbles, but it needs to have some scaffolding put in place so it doesn't completely crumble, to then re-thread and wire and wind and weave itself into a Celtic knot style, which creates that labyrinth of energy in and out through the main processing system of the body, which is the gut brain. And that electrochemical energy goes up to the brain to tell the brain what to do, to transform into the electromagnetic energy, to send the nerve impulses and the signals down into the nervous system and tell the muscles what to do. So posture and alignment is what creates from the internal workings of the body, posture and alignment, not in the external conventional understanding, but the posture and alignment of the deepest of the organs. So going back to teeth and the rest of it. So I hope we've come back to more stuff there. Purcell, so the change of the vibration of the name Coleman to Purcell is it's like a purse. Purses can have lots of money in. You can have a genie purse. No, it's not a genie. What is it when you rub the lamp? And is it a genie? The labyrinth? No. What's the guy that flies on the carpet? We've got lots. Yes, sending love. Oh, there's a lot. It's an online resource for Vedic astrology. I don't know. We tend to watch. She's called Joni Patry. We watch a little bit of Peter Panantoino. Yeah, but she triggers us a bit because she looks like Little Miss Piggy. And one of our first boyfriends at 16 used to call us Little Miss Piggy. But that's when we'd actually lost lots of weight. So we go in and out of her. We did buy some cards because we love our cards. So we've got some Vedic astrology cards, and we have got a couple of books. Best thing would be to Google it, or DuckDuckGo is a privacy search engine, or put it into YouTube and watch a few people, listen to a few people, and see which one resonates with you the best, is what we'd kind of say. That's kind of what we attempt to do. Aladdin. Yes, Aladdin robs the genie. So it's like the purse is the genie, and it's a never-ending purse. And Purcell, cell is the cell, the cellular body, and the cellular body is made up of the bacteria body. So it's the bubbly, bouncy, beautiful bacteria into happy, clappy cellular systems. And for us, that's what each cell and bacteria has its own individual expression of consciousness, and the body's speaking to us. And for us, the body speaks to us in our dissociative identity disorder and the alternate personalities, and it's fragmented, but it's attempting to put itself back together. But because we've been doing this journey for so long, we don't follow any patterns, so we have to find our own patternology. We did a gate scan once and we couldn't get any souls done for our feet because we didn't follow the bad pattern, and we didn't follow the good pattern. It just changed every time. So yeah, there's a lot there. There's the elephant, so that's big for us because it's the mummy and the baby. It could be the daddy. That's also helps us develop. I know our mother-daughter relationships have come up. We're not going to go into that one, but yeah, it's all to do with soul energy and us thinking this. So you can get soul energetics incarnate into many bodies, and we feel that me and my mum came from the same soul energetics, but we weren't evolved energetically enough to be able to handle two human forms, hence why her life had to cease at a certain time, and the narrative that it ceased under was suspected suicide from being washed up on a beach 3 days after her death, potentially intoxicated, but couldn't have a post-mortem done because it couldn't handle the two human forms. And we also feel that with the situation with our father, it was because then, you know, when he was in a state of chaos and stuck in these mental health subliminal chaos worlds because of the trauma that had happened, and because of his childhood traumas, the distinction between the energetics got confused, and so we feel that had an impact on that, on the sexual abuse, which we find hard because part of our story is to share all this, but we then don't want to share it or feel guilty about sharing it because we don't want anyone to think bad of him. Like, we're going through our own emotions, but in the human form, but the perspective we take in a super conscious way is that, you know, if you've got a play or a theatre, no one really wants to put the hand up and be the villain or the bad person, but energy doesn't experience emotions. Energy doesn't, the reason we incarnate into human form is to experience through the 5 physical senses, but not to get trapped in the 5 physical senses. Hence 5th limb of yoga, pratyahara, freedom from the desires of the senses, but still the ability to enjoy the senses with moderation. Number 14, the temperance card, alchemization, balancing the masculine and the feminine on all layers and tiers, in, deep, out, up, down, rotation. So the fire energies go up, the upwards channels, the water energies are the downwards channels, but the water energies, when reached to a certain temperature, become steam, so they can start being an upward channel as well. And the lungs create the spiral energies with the breathing, hence the importance of having the breathing of the lungs, and us having to stop smoking weed. But on stopping the smoking weed, how do we calm ourselves? So we used to eat it and we used to drink it, but we had to stop doing that. It didn't work. So yeah, we're putting it into our cream and our oils so that we still absorb the cannabinoids, but in a way that we've not been used to it, so that we can create a more of a permeable, thicker layered skin and boundaries in the body, because the boundaries in the body, which are also hard because of the EDS, it's like we're made of sandstone. Hence why you see all the stuff that goes on with the collarbone. But it's all, as long as the pattern isn't repeating in the same way, or it's the noises or the clicks or the clunks or the pain isn't the same and repetitive is the same, then it's okay, we've learned. Now, it could seem repetitive to anyone outside or external. It's like, oh, we're in our house, we're doing whatever, we're just going through the same cycles. But you've got the cycles and repetition within the cycles, the vortex, the spiral vortex. And so as long as it's like the red and the green, the red and the orange, the red and the blue, or the red and the green, the red and the orange, the red orange and the green, as long as there's a main theme, but then there's there's the title of the book, and then there's a title of the trilogy of books, and then you've got the title of the individual book in that trilogy, and then you've got the title of the chapter, and then you might have subtitles in the chapter. You made me smarter. I think that's meant to be you make me smarter. Thank you. You have a puppy distraction. Oh, that's a lovely distraction to have. And then the other one was the bonsai tree and beautiful azalea bonsai growing tool. And with us, with everything that's happened, trauma, or when you go into the fight, flight, freeze, your muscles contract. They contract to bring the energy in to get ready to flight, to run away, or to get ready to be strong and fight, or freeze, rabbit in the spotlight. But if you're freezing, you're not using up that energy, and so that energy goes, that energy turns into lactic acid in the muscles. It causes pain. But we feel, and from what we've experienced, and the best that we can find to language to put to our experiences, because this is all us learning to find the language to put the experiences that have already been had, is that happens in the nervous system as well. So we've all completely contracted in, shortened, gone from 5'10" down to 5'8", but believe eventually when we get, because we are doing our yoga again and stuff, we will eventually end up being like 6 foot or something. And hence that's why they grow tall. So our little ones think we're starting the journey of growing tall again, because we are doing our best with the muscles and everything. And Joyce and Green Fairy, thank you so much. This is going to be so short. It's an hour and a half, we don't do short. And we were so just like about coming onto it, and to have this connection means so much. So thank you. And we're grateful that you've received stuff from this as well. Tito Poto Mina. So yeah, the north and south node are always in retrograde, but our north and south node are on our ascendant and descendant, which is Leo north node, destination, Aquarius south node. So we've got 3 Aquariuses there. And then So we've got our rising sign in Leo on the cusp, 29. So it's Leo, Virgo, and our North Node. So we've got Virgo energies on that cusp of the North Node, which is like your destination, your future, and the rising sign. And then we've got Jupiter, Saturn, Mars retrograde, which is the expansion and the contraction, which is what we've been describing of the unseen expansive energies and the dense, tangible, atomic energies, with the peripheral nervous system, the deep centering of self, or talking about it in the galaxy with your external planets, and then Earth. We're not getting into Sagittarius, the center of the galaxy, and the black hole stuff, it's topple. But we've also got our Black Moon Lilith and our part fortune in Virgo as well. And Virgo is the house 1, house 2. I think they're all in house 1, but in some of them they're house 1 and house 2, depending whether it's the equal chart or the unequal chart, the Placidus or the equal chart. I think Placidus is the unequal. And so because all of them are in Virgo and our Aquarius is in 6th house, which is the home of Virgo, these energies, Aquarius full moon, which is the end of a cycle, we got put in the psych ward. It's all the 2s. The psych ward was 2020, which is big picture, longhand, 22, which is 4. 4 is the age the trauma's happened. So this is how our numbers work. But we're in 2022 now. But if you do shorthand, it's 22. So we're on that 22, which is the number of intuition. It's the second master number, the builder number, and equals that 4 again, which is the emperor, perseverance, determination, foundation, structure. And so we're revisiting those 2 energies, 2 being really important because Snowflake was born when this host body was 2. She was born, we're looking directly into the camera now, so we've had a really good shift. Well, I think it is light language. There's just, light language, what we understand light language to be is a language that is an individual subjective experience language, which is just words coming from the sensory system. So when one speaks light language, the people that are listening to it will be activated on a physical sensory system level rather than through the conscious mind and words. So when we are listening to music or songs and wanting to get into a kind of meditative state, and it could be an active meditative state, it's really good to listen to something, if it's going to have words, to listen to something with words that one doesn't understand. So listening to a song that you love in another language, because that stops the conscious mind neural pathways happening. So light language, so when our alters speak that, it is a form of light language. And then from another perspective, because there's always so many perspectives, because you've got that kind of disco ball with all those vortex funnels going in, or you've got Earth and you've got different parts on the planet. They all have a different perspective because they're all coming from a different angle. So they're all going to have different shadows. And so therefore there's going to be different belief systems. And the Mongolian tribes, they perceive the past to be in front of them because they are yet... So we in the Western world, the past is behind us because it's happened, but it's unseen. So in Mongolia, the past is in front of you because it's seen. So, I mean, we love that. We think that's amazing. So that's complete opposites, but they're both logical and make sense. It just depends on the individual wiring and experience of the individual, but also of the culture and the family belief systems that it's come into. Yeah, Green Fairy. I think we used to speak. I don't know if we spoke a language with ourselves or with someone else, but I think we did some kind of language when we were younger as well. I think it was with a friend, but our memories are all very split up. Yeah. So yeah, that's been good. I think we've kind of shared in a slightly coherent way. We've kept 2 of you interested. I'm sure, Joyce, were you around? When we did some of our book reading, our 108-day book reading. I don't recognise your name, Green Fairy, but if you have been around before, maybe one of us other ones recognise your name. So it's not, please don't take that personally. But yeah, we're going to go now because we're meant to be putting on some food in the slow cooker ready for tomorrow. That's That's the only thing I think we've got to do. And have a very good dream state, reprogramming and healing. Yes, I thought we recognised your name, Joyce. And heart. Bring the heart into the man, into the male energies. So yeah, so there's one thing we haven't done, isn't there? It's the numbers. So we spoke about the animal energy and the tree and the getting taller. So if we just go, the sun didn't change actually. So this is from 3 o'clock on the 20th that we took these aspects from. So on the 20th of August at 3 p.m. universal time, the sun was at 27 degrees 32. And last month when we did this, it was 27 degrees as well. Oh my God, look, it was 2 people watching now, you two, and we got 7 likes. And we just talked about the 108 day. Oh, it's so hard when we get excited. Yeah, the 108 day reading meditation thing that we did. We're going to be finishing that off this year, the books that we didn't finish. But 27 is a quarter of 108, is it? 108 goes, 27 goes up to 54, which then goes to 108. So yeah, 27 is a quarter of 108. So 27, if you look into the 108 code, it's a really important number. Like the Fibonacci sequence, it's the spiral of life and your sunflowers and your pine cones or your spine cones, and all plants and nature. But oh no, what's the other one we just read the other day in one of our little black books? Tito Momo, Paisato, son of Leech. Oh, James Leach's son. So yeah, someone from New Zealand. Lucas, the Lucas sequence. So the Lucas sequence is another sequence that follows a similar pattern from the Fibonacci. Oh, we're gonna have to go back and look at that. But the first 2 numbers are different, and when you put both of them together, it acts like a zip. So it zips you up. And so so everything that in us that's all separated and split, it's going to get zipped up finally. We just got to be more patient. Oh, God, things are really shifting. We've been going through hell again, and it's going to get easier again. This is so good. Hannah from Spirit Mysteries. Green Fairy, you're Hannah from Spirit Mysteries. Hannah from Spirit Mysteries. How does that make sense? I don't know. Spirit Mysteries, what's that? Patch! Oh, is that Patch? Okay. So that's Jordan River, isn't it? Hannah. Are you the lady with glasses that sent us the message? Joyce. Praveen Mohan teaches about. Okay, we'll have to look into that name. We must say one of us knew that it was important to do chat on this, which we haven't done yet. And another one of us specifically changed it to chat replay on, so that we could come back to this and watch it, because we watch all our stuff back to find out what we've been saying and what we've been doing. Ah, hi. Things have been really hard at the moment. We might not message you back for a while. Interesting. Oh, we made it. We connected the dots. That's good. So 27 is an important number. I don't think in the numerology cards we've got, it's made of 2, which is the bridge, balance, patience, choices. 7 is self-growth, personal growth. It's a very spiritual number as well. You've got your 7 planets, your 7 days of the week. Together, so normally it happens in the addition. Together they equal 9, which is the number of completion. And we see 9 as the number of completion in this physical, tangible world. We've got to hug this in. We're getting a lot of pain here. 10 is karmic completion. 10 is made of the 1, the masculine, and the feminine, the 0. And like in Patch Tarot, actually, when you put the 1 through the 0, you get which is what Jordan's done with the child card, the Fool. You get Phi, not Pi. Pi is like it's got a rune like Pi. That's the 3.14. But you've got the true Pi, and then you've got the man-made Pi. Jane 108 is really good for this as well. We love him. Our little ones love him. So, and Phi is really important, because Phi isn't Phi the golden ratio. It's Pi. I think you're right, but we haven't done it. It's more. Yeah, 5, I'm pretty sure, is the golden ratio. Golden ratio is the center. The golden ratio is 21/34. So the Fibonacci sequence goes 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89. Okay, no more. So when you get the numbers, I think it's 8/13 is the ratio between all the portions of each joint and bone in the body. And so 21/34 is the golden ratio. And then you've got the inversion of each of these as well. So that would be 34/21. So when we do our beeps, we will go, and we will do that to the numbers of the Fibonacci sequence, and we would switch them around. We do it going out, or we do it, or we do it going in. So that was a really good clearing. Oh my God, that felt amazing. So yes, so 27 equals 9 on addition where you add the numbers being expansion, or it could be 5 or -5. 5 is the only constant, which is change. That's subtraction. 7 minus 2 or 2 minus 5, or 2 minus 7 equals 5 or -5. 5 is also the number of the Hierophant, which is the man-made spiritual. So we see the Hierophant and the High Priestess as the divine masculine and the divine feminine, which is the unseen masculine and the unseen feminine. And we see the Empress and the Emperor as the seen, tangible world of the masculine energies and the feminine energies. And for us, it starts off with depending where you come at it from, but if we weren't in these physical bodies to start with and we were energy to start with, then you're coming from the unseen realms, which is the whole, which is the divine feminine, the High Priestess archetypal energies, which then has to go into the part. So it goes into the Hierophant. The masculine is the part, so it's the unseen masculine part energies into the body. So then it goes, and so for us the pattern goes, so if you were to have, so how do we do this simply? For us, the pattern goes, so if it was to go, you start off with, how do we explain this? This is really important for us to explain because we've just had a complete blank. So like with the breath, we'll do it, it's a banana. Oh God, sorry. With the breath, if you were to inhale and then exhale, inhale and exhale, that's kind of one pattern, but the pattern's not complete. The pattern ends up with 8, but the 8 split into 4. So you do an inhale, and then you do another inhale, and then you do an exhale, and then an exhale. But that's not really, we have to break it between the mouth and the nose. So you'd inhale through the nose, inhale through the nose, out through the mouth, out through the mouth, inhale through the mouth, inhale through the mouth, out through the nose, out through the nose. And we aren't able, for some reason, we're not in the right altars, or the connections aren't there, because this is something that we do all the time. And so it's really interesting to see that we can't actually do it in this moment. So the pattern goes from the whole unseen feminine, High Priestess, divine feminine, into the part, the masculine unseen Hierophant, into the part of the body, because you've got to have that resonant frequency or spectrum. The part of the body is the masculine and the physical, so that's the Emperor, and then it goes into the whole of the body. And we see that what energy wants to do, what consciousness wants to do, is evolve, experience and expand, but sometimes evolve, experience and contract. So expansion, addition, contraction, subtraction. But then you've got infinite expansion, which is multiplication. So that would be 2 times 7, which is 14, which is your moderation, which is your Sagittarius, which is your temperance card. 14 mirrored is 41, which is self-discipline. One needs self-discipline to gain moderation, which together equal 5. God, why do we go off on it so much? And then you've got division. So 7 divided by 2 is 3.5, which brings you back to the 8 again. So rather than it just being everyone looking at numerology and looking at the addition, you've got refeel, you've got to look at those all 4 perspectives: expansion, contraction, infinite expansion, infinite contraction. But then you've got infinite expansion with boundaries, and infinite contraction with boundaries, and infinite contraction without boundaries. And the with boundaries and the without boundaries is, if you, for instance, 7 divided by 2 is 3.5, that's got boundaries. It doesn't have a whole integer boundary because it's not 3, it's 3.5, but it's a man-made construction to have the point. So it could be, some people would perceive it as 3.5. So it's only the numbers that are recurring and go on and on and on and on that's without boundaries, because it's just infinite. It just goes on and on and on and on. But our language isn't good for that, because infinite means go on and on and on. So you can't really have infinite with boundaries. But it's our little ones that teach us all this, and they're still developing their language. So that's 27. And then you've got 32 minutes, 27 degrees, 32 minutes. So that in the chart, you've got the 360-degree circle split into your 12 astrological signs. And then in each 30 degrees, you have 10 degrees, 10 degrees, 10 degrees. And so it's roughly a degree every day that goes round. So then the 32 minutes is that in a day. 32 is your 5 again. So actually, your expansion in the small picture of your minutes and the day, which is 3 plus 2 equals 5, is the same as your contraction, 7 minus 2, in the bigger picture, if that makes sense. So that's the sun energies. I'm not going to go into it too much detail again, because we are wanting to kind of leave it. It's almost been 2 hours. God, it's amazing what one can do when they're just kind of flowing with it. Yes, golden ratio, it's good, isn't it? Fibonacci is always, we don't like the word tries. For us, try implies to the subconscious that it's going to fail. We change try to attempt, but Fibonacci is on that constant spiral vortex path to phi. Yeah, our heads just like. So the moon is under the energies of 12, which we see as masculine complex stability. Feminine complex stability being 13, because there's 13 moon cycles in a year, and it would make much more sense for there to be 13 months in the year. Equals 12 equals 3, which is your feminine creative energies, the Empress. And then you've got 58 minutes, which is really getting close to the cusp. So it's actually 12 degrees 58 minutes, which means you've got the 12 energy. Yeah, it means you've got the 12 energies and the 13 energies. So you've got complex stability in the physical world, masculine energies of 12, baker's dozen, what have you, and then 12 months in a year. But then you've got the 13 in the minutes, because 8 plus 5 is 13. But not only have you got that 13 number in the minutes, 1258 is basically 13, because it would get rounded up. So you've got those seen, tangible, feminine complex stability energies. So for us, you've got the Metatron, the star, 2 tetrahedron stars put together, Metatron's cube, and that's the 64. And that, hey Zendaya, hi darling, how are you? And that's 64 is the divine masculine complex stability. But I don't know, this is stuff that was there a while ago. That's more to come in. So yeah, we're going to be soon retracting back, detoxing from all Facebook and social media, and really going on to an evolutionary journey inwards. I think that's when we're going to have our relapse and go younger. And the idea is that we pull away from all of that, and we do the blindfolds around the ears and the eyes that one does in yoga when they get more advanced, to really compress and take you into your inner worlds. But for us, it's because there's so much energy and expansion and heat that we also have that compression. Because if you've got is it caduceus? I don't know, we don't know the words. But when you've got the snake that goes up through the bodies, you've got the expansion around the chakra, and then they cross between the chakras. So in the Chinese philosophies, you've got your dantian, you've got your lower dantian, and you've got your upper dantian, and they don't actually correspond with the chakras, but they do correspond between the chakras. And then if you were to bring this information with your sacred geometry, your golden ratio, your Fibonacci into music, into a simple form of the keyboards, your chakra notes are the white keys, and then the black keys are the sharps. They're the notes that connect the chakras. So we've got our sharps tuning forks, we've got our planetary tuning forks, we have our human organs, we have the angels, we have the Fibonacci, that's and sharps, and Solfeggio set. Solfeggio sets take you through, this is part of the Solfeggio set, liberation and fear and guilt and all the emotional stuff. So I think our next one on the bath is going to be the sharps and the Fibonacci again, and we've been doing this all the way through. Wow, it just jumped up to 9 likes. Shocking. Tutorial's on 11 now. Okay, so we're going to leave it there. This was episode 3, unit 2, and we will be back next month, hopefully more on the 3rd quarter. Oh, you just want to share that, don't you? Yeah, tutorial. Okay, so we've shifted now for 5 years, half a decade. We were drinking full moon water and new moon water. But then it made sense for us to, or it suddenly came into play that we don't want to amplify the extreme peaks, highs, and the extreme valleys, troughs and lows. We want to find balance, and balance is the zero between them. So therefore, if you've got a graph and you've got your sine wave and the curve, and you've got your zero gravity, zero's the center, then we want to be having where it crosses over, and that's the 1st quarter moon and the 3rd quarter moon. So we actually shifted not that long ago. We can't totally tell you now, maybe done a few, not many, maybe 2 of each or 3, or we've definitely done 1 of each. We've definitely done 2 of one of them. So yeah, it doesn't matter the details, but this is the first one we've missed, basically. We get a lot better at managing the disappointment, because there's the autistic one and the perfectionist and the routine. And once we've navigated through that, it's like, well, there's got to be a reason for it. This whole journey on everything that we've done, whether it's reading books and words backwards to leaving stuff in the bath, our Thai herbal herbs in the bath, and it ends up thinking, and we can't get it out because of the physical and then the smell. But then realize actually that's probably all happened for a reason, which is to get the bacteria in from the smells of these herbs into the body to start catalyzing this whole process. Yeah, we just had a release, so that we know that's the truth, for our truth. And so therefore we've just discussed how this Virgo new moon and the energies from the full moon Aquarius to the new moon Virgo is massive for us. And so we didn't need any of those frequencies of the water, because if we did the new moons and the full moons for 5 years, it wouldn't surprise me if we're doing this for at least 2-3 years. Because just like our name, this is another way that we've been, we've done everything how society says, how this self-development world teaches us to do it, and it hasn't worked for us. And we think there's lots of other people out there that's not working for, and it's causing more dissonance, more misunderstandings, more chaos. And so for us, we've taken a very abstract approach that's not come from our conscious mind. It's come from us being desperate, because too many of us just wanted to kill the host body, and we programmed ourselves not to have any out-of-body experiences. So we couldn't die, because we were dying before the psych ward. Our body, our autonomic nervous system was giving up, because we had no love from anyone else, unconditional love from anyone else, and we didn't love ourselves. So that happened because we needed some respite, and we needed some support and care, and to be cooked and fed. We couldn't cope at home, and that all happened, and it chucked us in the deep end. It reminded us of what we've done in our life, the travels we've done, and it gave us the self-belief, and we've been on that journey for the last 2.5 years. But in that process of surrendering to whatever was needed, we've had to completely surrender into these alternate states of consciousness, which are the alternate personalities, different brain wavelengths, and witnessing these child states, which is very uncomfortable. Being a grown woman, a grown adult, has been, yeah, uncomfortable. The rest of it, come on, what's the rest of it? It's been profound. It's been incredible. It's been unbelievable, even experiencing it ourselves, and it's taught us so much. And I don't know why we're talking about that anymore, but that's it. So we basically learn through frequency and energy, not through words and narratives. And that's where we're going to end it. Thank you, beautiful Joyce, beautiful Hannah, Green Fairy, and everyone else that's popped in through this live, and everyone that's going to pop in the future. This is the third one we've done now. We've got another 9 to go, and feel there's going to be real massive, obvious transition and change from now to then, and even more so from watching some of our Journey of Evolution channels of where it was just the moon, where we were focusing on the inside of the moon and doing this every few days. So see you next month. Take care of yourselves, nurture yourselves, love yourselves. You're the one that knows you best, even if you feel you don't know you best. That's the journey, and the destination is the journey on its twists and winds and chaos and what have you. Pleasure, Hannah. Pleasure, Joyce. Thank you so much. 1 hour, 5 minutes. We've got to figure out how to turn this off now. Oh, bye. Oh no, we've got to do 2, haven't we? There we go.